Today we are here in a little neighborhood in Westminster, Colorado, where a man lived with his wife, and he came home from work and his fate was set. A man who tried to change his life around. But he was met with his destiny. We come here today to tell the odd and strange tale of a man born into a crazy family at a time when being a part of a notorious gang was a popular way to become known, to make money, and become infamous. Lloyd Barker was born to Kate Barker, aka Arizona Donnie Clark, 1873 to 1935, also known as Ma Barker. She had many aliases, Arizona Barker and also Ari Barker. The mother of Lloyd's brothers, Herman, 1893 to 1927, Arthur Dock, 1899 to 1939, and Fred, 1901 to 1935. J. Edgar Hoover described Ma Barker as the most vicious, dangerous, and resourceful criminal brain of the last decade. But alas, those who knew her said she had no criminal role. And the rumors about her were to excuse the shootout with FBI that would take her and her son's life. Lloyd's father, George, worked in many low-paying jobs and described as shiftless, paying no attention to his son's education, all being more or less illiterate. Brother Herman committed highway robbery and taking someone's life. All the brothers ended up in prison, and Herman took his own life in order to avoid prosecution. Lloyd had committed U.S. mail fraud and was incarcerated at Leavenworth Prison on a 25-year sentence, serving 12 years with good behavior. Father George had left the family after his sons were all incarcerated, and Ma Barker cheated on him with local men after hitting rock bottom, penniless and miserable. Then Fred got out of jail with a former prison mate, Alvin Karpus, to form the Barker Karpus gang. They began committing a series of robberies which led them to take a sheriff's life and fleeing with Ma Barker to use false names. So then Brother Arthur got out of jail and also joined the gang, moving to Chicago, but soon leaving because they didn't want to work for Al Capone. Here we are on their street. This is where Lloyd and Jeannie lived, and where Jeannie took Lloyd's life. After Leavenworth, Lloyd had tried to go straight. He enlisted in the Army as a cook during World War I and World War II, given a good conduct medal and honorably discharged. After moving to Denver, he worked at the restaurant and met a woman known as the hysterical divorcee, Jeannie Wynn, with 2 children to her prior relationship and having 2 children by Lloyd, Eileen and Michael. She was said to have what may be known today as postpartum depression. Of course, not diagnosed, and clearly manic depression. One day, Jeannie called Lloyd at work having one of her hysterical breakdowns, so he asked for the rest of the day off to go home to care for Jeannie. He was met at the front door by Jeannie, and she took his life by a 12-gauge shotgun. His employer shut down the restaurant to attend his funeral, said to be the only one of his family to do any honest work. Jeannie pled not guilty by saying that she was afraid Lloyd would take their lives, as he had threatened to do so in prior arguments. She went to trial and got a life sentence in the Colorado State Insane Asylum in Pueblo, Colorado. Lloyd's mother, father, and brothers are all interred at Williams Timber Hill Cemetery, Welch, Oklahoma. His father, George, passing away at the old age of 70 years. After the crime against William Ham, the gang fled back to Chicago. Brother Arthur was arrested with a map of where the gang hid out in Florida. The hideout was a house on a property the owners built as a weekend and summer retreat. To the generous offer of a sweet little old lady and her sons, unbeknownst to the landowner, he had just rented his house to the notorious Lloyd Barker gang. They laid low for 2 months. Then 3 days before, the rest of the gang left, leaving Ma and son Fred in the house. January 16, 1935, the FBI decided to surround the house. Fred decided to shoot instead. People living nearby heard the gunshots and began congregating outside to witness the shootout, some even having picnics. Fred was riddled with bullets and Ma Barker only one, a machine gun at her feet. October of 2012, the land where the house stood was sold, later donated to Marion County by the owner. October of 2016, the house was moved on a floating barge from Lake Weir over to Carney Island. In the fall of 2018, the house was made into a museum. Kept as it was the day of the shootout, the walls and furniture still riddled with bullet holes. Right now we're in downtown Denver. We're at what is used to be called Denargo Market. It is still here, but it's not what it used to be. Denargo Market is where Lloyd Barker used to work, dating from 1939, when a group of produce growers and the Union Pacific Railroad joined forces to develop an area where growers could sell their produce. Now it is many apartments. A crazy history fact: July 7th, 1971, I was just over a month old. The Denargo market caught on fire. A whopper of a fire, rising hundreds of feet into the air and causing thousands of dollars of damage. It could be seen for miles, bringing many onlookers to watch the blaze. Thankfully, no one was hurt in the blaze. There was also another fire in 1952 when a portable oil stove overturned. The market is no longer here, but this Denargo Market apartment complex. I guess people who were here could smell the intense smell of burning food. AMLI Denargo Market, 2525 Wawata Way, Denver. Outdoor living and dining area with wet bar and kitchen, state-of-the-art art, athletic zone, club room. $1,700 to $3,000 a month. Luxury apartments. This is where Lloyd Barker worked as a cook. He was called by his wife Jeannie to come home. The next segment is time late fall when we went and visited his resting place. I will tell you the story about what happened.
A song called Where No One Stands Alone. Lisa, a fantastic artist in her own right, recorded some great music down through the years, and she remembered going on tour with her dad. You toured with your dad some as well.
I did.
Did you like being on the road with him?
I loved it. I loved it. I did. It was really exciting, really fun.
Jerry Schilling said that the happiest he ever saw your dad was when he was with you. That he was just lit up. And then he recalled one time, and you must have been 3 or 4, and he got home from a show or somewhere, and you were there to greet him. It was just the most. Jerry never forgot that moment. How excited you were to see him.
It was likewise, I'm sure. I mean, both ways. Yeah.
And when you would go on tour with him, would you spend most of your time backstage, or you would be out in?
Yeah, I was back most of the time. I was brought out, and then I was taken away right before last song. So they kind of had a little, they had a little formula where they would come and get me at a certain time and take me away.
That's the time.
Right here at this spot is where Lloyd Barker is buried. He has an unmarked grave. My plan is to go into the office and talk to the lady that works here. Supposedly she can put in some paperwork to get him a military gravestone. And I will later do a follow-up video about how that all works out. So Mr. Barker doesn't have a headstone, so I had to go ask where he was because the GPS was wrong, and I will fix that and add some pictures of actually where he rests. She said they lost a lot of trees here, 19 of them, which you will see looking like this. And they have to go around and fix all that. Very nice people here at Elmwood Cemetery, located in Brighton, Colorado. And here's the Bromley family. Part of the historical family that started Brighton. And they have a street here named after them. And here's some Bromley children. And then we come around here. And here's the family stone. And we have Mother Anna Maria, son Emmett Ayers, and Father Emmett Arthur. And they're having a historical gathering here at the cemetery on Saturday, which hopefully will be able to attend. Here's a John D. Bromley, 1906, 1961. Here in the older section as we go. And there's Kennedy and Gregory. Here's a George Burt and Pauline Burt, 1867 to 1934 and 1878 to 1966. And here's another Burt. So there we go. We will be back. Some stories set here. Elmwood Cemetery, Brighton, Colorado. And this is the older section. We'll have a look at this. This looks like a personal tomb for Miller.